everybody, welcome back to the Pet Food Puzzle Guy. I'm Glenn. I just want to take a minute and thank everybody for all the comments and of course views and stuff with that three-part series on responding to the dog food nutritionist. I think that went really well. I enjoyed doing it. Hopefully it's just another perspective for people that are on the fence and are really confused about what they're seeing on the internet. For some of you, I'm sure I even confused you more because now you have two very different opinions. So I will try my best to clarify things. So anyway, enough about that. Real quick, this one kind of came together by accident, but I have always said in previous videos, at least in the beginning, that many manufacturers out there, they just go with the trends, whatever the newest thing is, whether it's grain-free, whether it's natural, whether it's no corn, wheat, or soy, now the non-kibble, freeze-dried, all that other stuff. In general, if we go back to the all-natural, when that hit, almost every brand made another version of themselves. And what I found, this was way back when I was still actively working in clinics and all, I found almost every time the nutrient level in the diet that they made new, that was the all-natural, fancy schmancy food, and of course more expensive, actually had an inferior nutrient profile than their original. So here you are buying the new all-natural version, and of course it's a lot more money, so you assume it's better for your pet, but if you actually looked at the nutrient levels based on science and what we understand of those nutrient levels, you're actually not feeding as good a diet. And so Blue Buffalo, I have to give them credit. They always, when I call them, they're great. They have all their numbers. I wish every food company was like that. It would make my hobby here a lot easier and more fun. But anyway, I called them and I was just curious. There's Blue Wilderness. Now that's that beautiful bag with that gorgeous blue-eyed wolf on the cover. And they also have a life protection version of Blue Buffalo. And it's a less expensive food, not as fancy. I'll show you the bag here. Not as glamorous. And so I was really curious, what's the difference nutritionally between these two foods? And is there a difference? And I was just curious, is it that same trend that I learned years ago that, boy, they make it all natural food, and guess what? It's not as good as their original. So the question is, Blue Buffalo in that beautiful bag, much higher priced, is it actually something more nutritious than their regular life protection brand? So that was that's the purpose of this video. So if you've watched any of my videos, you're probably sick of hearing this, but I don't ask what's the best pet food out there or what's the fanciest or whatever. What is the healthiest diet? Which one is healthiest for my pet, whether dog or cat? So we're dealing with dog food here. We're looking at two Blue Buffalo diets. And the question is, which one has a nutrient profile that enhances the health of my pet, reinforces the health of my pet, my dog, I should say, and reduces the risk of disease. Now, how do we do that? Well, we feed optimal is the key word, optimal protein levels. This whole high protein craze, my dog's a wolf, he needs protein, all marketing, no science behind it whatsoever, okay? Excessive protein is just as bad as excessive sodium, as excessive anything, okay? Too much is not good. That's just true in life. Is there anything where too much of something is good for you? It's just, I don't think there's anything, okay? So same is true with protein. The animal needs all the amino acids that they need, those essential amino acids, and then they can create the other amino acids within their body. But once they've reached what they need, anything else is excessive. Their bodies, their organs have to deal with that excess product, and that's not good. Not when you're spending good money on a diet that can be optimal. So optimal protein levels plus the mineral content. You don't hear this much, but if you've watched my videos, high mineral content reveal what? It reveals what there's either way too much protein, that's part of it. The other is that the protein sources that they're putting in that diet, the meat sources, are high in something. Bone, hair, hoof, feathers, chicken lips, as I like to say, dirt, whatever. All that stuff in there, in that poor quality protein source, is going to drive that calcium and phosphorus level up into dangerously excessive levels. Now, does every dog, is that toxic for every single dog and cat? Absolutely not. But if your dog or cat is prone to urinary stones or kidney disease or hypertension and I could go on and on, then yes, those excesses delivered in that food, that inferior food, no matter what the cost is, that's bad. So that's how I judge, is a food healthiest or is it not very healthy at all. So we're going to look at the two Blue Buffalo diets, and I'm going to put pedigree next to it. Now, pedigree was the cheapest food I've found so far since I started these videos, and we all looked at the excessive nutrient levels in it and weren't too surprised. So how does that cheap food compare when we look at Blue Buffalo Life Protection and Blue Buffalo Wilderness? So let's just take a look. We'll put the numbers up for you to see here. But let's start with Blue Wilderness. That's their top of the line, beautiful bag. We have a protein level of 9.6 grams per 100 kcals. Okay, that's one of the highest we've seen in the diets we've looked at. I think Origin is up there as well. So the calcium and phosphorus in this diet, that is partly, I don't want to say byproduct, that's probably not the right term, but the result of that high protein and the protein sources they're using produces what calcium and phosphorus level? Well, the calcium is 480 milligrams and phosphorus is 320. And I know numbers are hard to remember, so that's why I'm going to put them up on one of these sides here. The sodium level is 110. That's milligrams per 100 kcals. And this food costs $2.87 a day based on Chewy's price when I went and looked. Okay, this is for a big bag where you save some money. So that's the deal with Blue Wilderness. Their life protection diet, which again is clearly not as glamorous and not, if you're just a consumer trying to take in what should I buy, you wouldn't go to this one. You'd really go to the Wilderness. But let's take a look. Only 6.9 grams of protein. Now, I am personally surprised when I called and got that number because that's a great protein level. Most of the diets on the high end that are doing all the ads and all the popularity, their high protein claim, at least they're honest, it's high protein, it's excessive protein, and it's not good. Here comes Blue Buffalo in with a product at 6.9 grams. I'm actually impressed. That's a nice, healthy number there. And what do we get from that protein level? We get 350 milligrams of calcium and 248 milligrams of phosphorus. See the difference between Wilderness and Life Protection. I'm going to say, well, let me finish with sodium. 100 milligrams of sodium in the Life Protection versus 110 in the Blue Buffalo. So if I take all these nutrients in and look at it as a whole, any of you guys that know how I think, and I hope some of you think the same way I do, which diet is healthiest for my dog? It's the cheaper one. It's the one that doesn't have the beautiful bag with the wolf with the blue eyes. But if I base it on nutrients, which, sorry, but nutrients delivered are what's going to affect your dog's health, okay? It's not the fancy ingredients. It's obviously not the pretty bag. It's not that you willingly and lovingly spent more money on that bag of food. I appreciate that, and I'm sure your dog does too in some way, but that's not going to affect their health. Show me the nutrients. That's going to be my t-shirt someday. Show me the nutrients. Look who wins here. Now, I didn't look at everything. I didn't look at all the fatty acids. I didn't look at other stuff. But even if it's a little higher in omega-3s, or maybe they add a few extra antioxidants into Blue Wilderness, if I look at the basic structure of the diet, and I've said this before, we don't analyze the foods down to the exact amounts here. Just, let's look at the overall picture to see, is that food a high quality food where the food company is spending good money on quality protein sources, or spending money to keep those nutrient or mineral levels controlled. If they're not doing that, you don't have to worry about the other stuff because they're not doing the most important stuff. And if they're doing that important stuff, hey, at least then they're in the running where I'd say, hey, this might be a good food to feed. So again, if we just look at these two, and I guess I didn't mention it, but the Life Protection diet, $2.03 a pound. So $2.03 for the diet that's actually healthiest for your pet to reduce the risk of disease and enhance their health, versus, what is that, 30% more, 80 cents more for a food that doesn't do that as well. But yet, how many consumers, and to be honest, I'm sitting here, you guys know, I'm learning as I call these companies and do these videos, I'm learning along with you. I'm surprised. Now, again, goes back to what I said years ago when I was doing this more actively. What did I find? the all new, all natural version, more expensive, fancier packaging, fancier ingredients, and an inferior proteins nutrient level. And what do we find here? The same thing. Here's our good food at this price, but here's our fancy food with the blue-eyed wolf, and it's a fancy bag, and it has all these fancy ingredients, da 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 da, and it's so much more expensive, and it's not going to be as good as the original. So let's take a look real quick. I don't have them in front of me, but let's take a look at the ingredient panels of both foods just to see if there's anything different that we see there in the ingredient panel. Okay, so here's the ingredient panel for the Blue Buffalo Wilderness and deboned chicken. Now, let's just look at the top three there. Deboned chicken, chicken meal, dried chicken. Now, again, if you've watched any of my videos, you know you got to play the game if you're a contender here. You got to have meat as the first ingredient. I hope that I'm not just boring everybody by saying this almost every video, but the ingredient panel is not a tool to help you evaluate the food. The ingredient panel is not that. The ingredient panel is a tool for the pet food marketers to manipulate you to think you're getting a great product and to get you to spend your money, okay? If you don't understand that, go and watch my video, Don't Play the Ingredient Panel Game. And you'll get a better understanding. So the first ingredient is the heaviest on down the list to the lightest. Pet food marketers know this, and that's why they pick ingredients and split them up and do all kinds of stuff to make you think you're getting something you're not, okay? So deboned chicken makes you think, ooh, here's nice, healthy, good chicken, and with the bone removed, that's got to be good for mineral content, right? All that. The next ingredient is chicken meal. Now, chicken meal just tells you it's been cooked and dried into a powder. If you think about weight, wouldn't that be a lot heavier than the fresh meat that's mostly water? Well, it's not that it's much heavier, but the weight would be more protein than the fresh meat. Fresh meat's going to be mostly water. Chicken meal is going to be mostly protein. So that is really the main protein source so far in this food. The meat's there just to get you to spend more money and think you're getting meat. Okay. The next ingredient is dried chicken. To be honest, I don't see this on many ingredient panels, so I don't know the AFCO definition, which I'm sure is extremely vague. Chicken meal to me is dried chicken. So now we end up with them having dried chicken on the ingredient panel. I think it's kind of an ingredient game going on there. But again, there's all your chicken in those three items. I have absolutely no idea until I looked at the mineral content. Remember, we looked at it and we saw it was kind of high. So guess what? I don't know which of those three, maybe it's the chicken meal that's low quality, maybe the deboned chicken is great, but the chicken meal is really low quality, or whatever that dried chicken is. But whatever, we ended up with a mineral content we didn't like, okay? So, and it revealed something's not great, okay? Then we've got oatmeal and barley, brown rice, tomato pumice, salmon meal for omega-6s, I'm sorry, for omega-3s, that makes sense. Let's see, chicken fat, that's your primary energy source, that's fine. Flaxseed, they see flaxseed here for omega-6s. Really, flaxseed's really high in omega-3s, but I guess there's 6s in there too. So anyway, nothing wrong with flaxseed. So bottom line, I don't want to go through all of them, but they're playing the game with the chicken in the front there. So that was wilderness. Let's go to the life protection and see what that looks like. So when we look at that, put it up on the screen, what do we find? Deboned chicken and chicken meal. Now there's no dried chicken in the life protection. That's kind of interesting. And brown rice has gone up to that level of weight anyway. The barley and oatmeal are flipped. That's interesting. There's your tomato pumice. I don't see a lot of difference here. And again, if you understand the ingredient panel, don't say, oh, this one's in the front, this one's in the back. It doesn't matter. It's the totality of all, is that the right word, totality? All the total of those ingredients together that are delivering a nutrient profile. That's what matters. That's what's going to affect your pet's health, okay? Not what order the ingredients in. Somebody just commented on one of my videos, I think it was last night, saying, don't you look at the first 5 ingredients? What ingredients matter to you? And if you're that person, I really appreciate that question. It's a great question. The first five ingredients to evaluate a food. Who do you think came up with that? You think some board certified nutritionist said, oh, let me help people understand how to evaluate a food nutritionally? No, it's pet food marketers that came up with that. Let's look at the first five ingredients. That's what you should look at. Just keep looking at that. Don't look at nutrients. Don't look at whether they have board certified nutritionists on staff. Just look at those first five ingredients. You know why? Because we can manipulate the hell out of those to make you think you're getting something you're not. Okay, it's just amazing how pet food marketing, it drives me nuts. It really does, because it's most effective on the people that love their pets the way I do. So there you go. The ingredient panel. I don't see it's going to sway anybody, because the first three ingredients are kind of playing the same game. Okay, so just for reference, I've added pedigree next to the nutrient numbers of wilderness and protective life. You'll see pedigree is nice and controlled in protein, but the protein sources in this inexpensive food are quite excessive as far as the calcium and phosphorus. And ironically, though, look at Blue Buffalo Wilderness. The expensive food has the same phosphorus level as pedigree at 69 cents a pound. So that's quite eye-opening, and it really just shows the difference between marketing and the true nutrient levels. I'll take the protective life anytime over wilderness. So there you go. When it comes to Blue Buffalo, it continues that trend that when a food company wants to jump into the all-natural fray, if you look at their all-natural version, guess what? Not as good as their original, but you're going to pay more for it, and maybe you can hang the pretty bag on your wall, because that's all that bag is really worth. Okay, guys, it is mid-October, and I sure hope you're getting out and appreciating the beauty of autumn, my favorite time of year. The leaves right now where I'm at are falling like snow, and you can hear them coming down, and I just love it. The sun is strong and warm, but the air is getting a little chilly, and it's sweater time, which I love. So I hope you're out enjoying it. Get out there, enjoy it, and I will catch you next time. Okay, there's definitely a weird glare with this light. That's not going to work. That looks pretty bad.